Hey everybody, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. I'm pretty sure a lot of people think I exaggerated when I said that you're going to have a huge breakthrough in the title, but this is actually very true for a lot of guitar players who like to play to backing tracks and improvise, and maybe they start to run into a wall and they're not sure what else to do. And so today what I wanted to show you was a backing track that I created that I'm going to actually make a big series of. And it's a different way of approaching backing tracks because usually when you play one, you just dial one up on YouTube and then you find the key and you try to play over the top of it. Typically, though, it's a full progression, sometimes up to, several chords. And so they'll actually flash what chord's happening at which time. And a lot of people, they just want to try to keep up, and it can be a lot to do that. So the best way I've found to get into it a little bit easier is just to choose a one chord backing track. I know it seems kind of funny because what songs have just one chord in them, but this is a great way to settle your brain down a little bit and give you a chance to actually play over the top of a consistent sound in the background. If you have, let's say, an A minor chord going on the entire time, you could try different things over the top of it and not have to worry about following any changes at this point. So for example, if you have A minor, you have A, C, and E as your three notes being played at one time. If that's all that's happening with a drum beat and a bass line, what's really cool about that is you could try, for example, different types of scales or modes and not be afraid of them not fitting because you're just trying them over a static chord. So I'm going to play over the top of the backing track and show you examples, but I'm actually going to make these backing tracks available on my website. I'm going to do all of them there, but I'm actually going to bring some of them over to YouTube so you can still try them out if you want to. So I thought a really great key would be A minor in the beginning. I'm also going to upload a major backing track too along with this one. So we're just going to have to play over the top of one chord. One of the most obvious things you could do is outline the arpeggio. So anywhere you could find A, C, and E, by the way, I'm going to stay in the middle today just to show you don't have to move around to make all these different scales and modes. So that's going to be your arpeggio. So one more time. What I recommend is playing that arpeggio in 5 different forms going up the neck. That way you have at least those covered to start off. But for today, if you could just do that one, that's great. That's going to show you your chord tones. The next thing a lot of people are going to want to do is just play an A minor pentatonic scale. You have 5 notes, and a lot of people know the shape, so it shouldn't be a big problem. To play over the top of the backing track with that scale. It's going to fit so well. So if you want to start off by just playing the scale over the track, that's a great way to get started. And then start to, noodle a little bit. And then when some ideas come to you, go ahead and try those. So here's just the scale. Double time. Once you get the sound of the scale going, then start to noodle a little bit. It could just be trying things out, little groups or little ideas like this. A really great thing to add to the minor pentatonic scale is the flat 5, which is going to give you the blues scale. And if you stay in this one position right here, you really can just add them in 2 spots, but it makes such a big difference in connecting your notes. So one more time, noodling. Anyway, so that's going to be adding a blues note. That's just one more note to the pentatonic scale, which is really great. Now, if you want to expand it even more, let's just get into the natural minor scale. So we're going to have... Now we're talking 7 notes. So we went from 5 to 6, now to 7. Actually, we started with 3 because we did the arpeggio first. So 3, 5, 6, 7. 7 notes now are going to be interesting because you have a lot of different, options when you go to solo. So I wouldn't overwhelm myself right away. I would just play the scale a few times, and maybe let's just from now on play the higher strings. I'll show you the whole scale, but then I'll just kind of play on the higher strings. So let's just try it. That little squeak was kind of a surprise there. Okay, so that's going to be your diatonic scale right there. If you want to think modally, we could go ahead and call that the Aeolian mode right there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some subtle switches, and I'm really going to just change one of the notes each time to give it a different sound. So if you want it to be more like in the Santana world, for example, or the Doors kind of sound, we could just change one of the notes. So for example, if that's our Aeolian mode, if we went ahead and raised the 6, you could still play the last few notes too. We're going to have more of a Dorian sound. So what I'll do is I'll start off in Aeolian like we just did, and then I'm going to change the 6th. I'm going to raise it so you're going to have the Dorian sound. Like I said before, I explain all this stuff on the website, but for today, just follow the diagram. So here's the Aeolian sound. Now watch this. Isn't that crazy how that one slide up like that really makes a huge difference? It's just a half step difference. But suddenly it just gives you a different feeling when you hear it. So I'll stay on that for a little while. I'm going to show you the rest of the mode too as I come down. So A Dorian. I like just staying on it. Now, the reason why you could really hear the difference between those modes is because there's just one chord happening in the background. If the chords were all changing, you'd still hear the quality of it, but it wouldn't be as pronounced. So whenever people go, I don't understand modes, I just can't hear the difference between them. Now, there shouldn't be any excuse to not be able to hear it, especially over the one chord track like that. So, I'm going to do that again. We're going to go into the Phrygian world, which is a little bit strange. And I'm going to show you that it can actually work over the top of this static chord. So real quick review, we have Aeolian and Dorian. So Aeolian, Dorian, funny, once you go to Dorian, it's hard to go back to Aeolian because it just sounds so plain after that. But you could still spice it up by how you play it. Now, this one might be hard to believe that you could fit it in. It's going to be the Phrygian mode because it's going to go like this. We have the root note here, A, and I'm only going to go a half step above it. So instead of playing the second interval like we usually do, I'm going to play the note right next to it. And you would think that would clash really bad. For example, if I play A and I add the B flat over the top of it, if I did that just together, it would sound like this. It's a big stretch here. Kind of dissonant, right? A little bit corn sounding right there. But if you throw it in, you can actually kind of make your ear accept it over time. So here's what I mean. I'm just going to play the B flat. See, it sounds bad to the ear at first, right? Unless you're used to hearing the dissonance and you start to like it, actually. But watch how I alter the Aeolian mode to make it work. So if I go back to the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, that's going to be your Aeolian mode. Now, all you have to do is take the second interval and bring it back half a step in the mode, and suddenly you have Phrygian. So if I were to do the whole thing here, let's see how that sounds over the top of the static backing track A minor chord. I'm kind of overplaying, but I'm just kind of excited because all you have to do is make one little change and you could start to sound a little more exotic. What's really cool is a lot of people want to sound like they're a little more outside when they play because they get used to playing, let's say, pentatonic too much. Well, if you were to just add this, you're kind of playing with that outside world because you could think of the flat 9 sound. Throw that in after you did a pentatonic or a blues scale run, and all of a sudden you sound like frickin' Scott Henderson or something. Isn't that kind of cool? We've all been there where we feel like we're just in that box, right? Oh, the false minuet. So because it's one steady chord in the background, you have the advantage of being able to just morph between the different scales and modes. That gets a lot more tricky, by the way, when you start to change chords in the background music. So have fun now while you can, while it's still one chord, because you could really just be free to change it up. Now don't worry, because in the future, when the chords do change, you're going to be able to change with them in a very knowledgeable way. This is just a really great way to establish some licks and some comfort switching scales and modes over the top of just that single chord. But for now, it'd be great if you could just start off. I'll put out a series of these, like I said, just one chord the entire time. Each track is about 10 to 12 minutes, so you have a long time to just sit there and improvise. And you can get lost in it, which is a good thing. But I think a lot of people are going to have a light bulb moment as soon as they start to apply this over the top of the one chord backing track. Even if they just go from pentatonic to blues to adding the Dorian note and just, doing things like that are really going to spark some new ideas. And hopefully you can really elevate your confidence when it comes to playing over the top of backing tracks. So for now, start off in the middle, try it out with the backing tracks, and let me know how it goes in the comments section. I'll be really curious to see how it's helped you. Thanks everyone. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye.